The sky above the alien capital turned red. Not from sunset, from fire. Huge ships covered the clouds like dark shadows. Energy blasts hit the city again and again. Towers made of shining crystal cracked and fell. Streets filled with smoke. Sirens cried without stopping. This was not just an attack. This was the end of a world. Inside a broken transport hall, she ran. Her armor was damaged. One arm was bleeding. Around her, her people were falling. Soldiers, guards, even civilians. The enemy was too strong, too fast. She was not just any alien. She was the last heir of her people. The only one born with a mark that could awaken the ancient planetary system, the final defense left to them. But the system was silent, dead, as if it refused to listen. A blast hit near her feet. She fell hard onto the floor. Pain rushed through her body. Before she could stand again, energy chains wrapped around her arms and legs. Captured, she looked up and saw enemy soldiers pointing weapons at her head. Her heart sank. If she was taken, her people had no future. They dragged her into a dark prison ship and locked her inside a cold metal cell. The ship lifted off, leaving her burning world behind. She closed her eyes. She had failed. Hours later, the cell door opened. Heavy footsteps came closer. She raised her head slowly, ready to spit hate at whoever entered. But the figure that stepped inside made her freeze. It was not an enemy commander. It was not even an alien. It was a human. He looked tired. His face was bruised. His clothes were simple, not military. Chains were also on his wrists. A prisoner, just like her. Her eyes burned with anger. Humans. Her teachers had warned her since childhood. Humans destroy everything they touch. Humans pretend to help, then betray. Never trust a human. Because centuries ago, when the galaxy burned for the first time, humans were blamed. She stood up as much as the chains allowed. "You," she said coldly, "stay away from me." The human stopped a few steps away. He did not smile. He did not look afraid. He looked serious. "We don't have much time," he said in a calm voice. "Your world will be gone in less than 2 days." She laughed, a broken, angry laugh. "You think I would believe a human," she said. "Your kind caused this war." He shook his head slowly. "No," he replied. "Your leaders erased the truth, and now you're paying for it." Her eyes narrowed. "What truth?" she demanded. He looked straight at her. "The ancient system you need to save your people," he said. "It was never meant for aliens." Her breath stopped. "That's impossible," she snapped. "It was built by our ancestors." "It was built with humans," he answered. "And that's why it's not responding to you." Silence filled the cell. She stared at him, searching for lies. "If you're lying," she began. "Then you lose nothing," he interrupted. "Because without that system, your planet dies anyway." The ship suddenly shook. An alarm echoed through the prison deck. Enemy fleet approaching the final attack position. Countdown had begun. The human stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I was trained to activate that system," he said. "Not as a weapon, as a key." She felt fear crawl into her chest. "What do you want?" she asked quietly. "To help you save your people," he replied. "But only if you stop seeing me as your enemy." She clenched her fists. Trust a human, or watch her world burn. Outside the ship, the stars moved into battle formation. Time was running out, and the one being she was raised to hate might be the only one who could save everything. The alien capital was built to last forever. That was what her people believed. Tall towers made of crystal metal rose into the sky. Energy shields covered the city like invisible walls. For centuries, no enemy had ever broken through. Until today, the sky burned red as enemy ships appeared above the clouds. They came without warning. Hundreds of them. Their weapons lit the air with fire and noise. Explosions shook the ground. She stood on a high platform near the central tower, watching her world fall apart. Princess Aelira did not cry. She did not scream. She tightened her grip on her weapon and forced herself to breathe. She was trained for this moment. Not as a ruler, not as a symbol, but as a key. Below her, soldiers ran in all directions. Some fired back. Some carried the wounded. Some never stood up again. Aelira, a guard, shouted, "We have to move. Now!" She nodded and followed him through the hallways of the tower. The walls shook as another blast hit nearby. Dust fell from the ceiling. They reached the chamber of the ancient system, the last defense of her people. A huge structure stood in the center of the room, made of old metal and glowing lines. It was older than any living memory. Legend said it could stop entire fleets with one command. Only one person could activate it. Huh. She stepped forward and placed her hand on the control surface. Nothing happened. She tried again. Still nothing. Her heart began to pound. "No," she whispered. "This is not possible." The guard looked at her in fear. "Princess?" She pressed both hands against the system. She focused. She did everything she was taught. The system stayed silent. Dead. A loud explosion shook the chamber. A part of the ceiling collapsed. Smoke filled the air. "The enemy has broken through the outer shield," someone shouted over the comms. "We are losing the city." Aelira pulled her hands back slowly. The system had failed her. Her people had failed. And now, she had failed them. "We need to evacuate you," the guard said urgently. "You are the last hope. We can regroup." Another blast threw them both to the floor. Aelira hit her head hard. Pain spread through her body. Her vision blurred. When she tried to stand, energy chains wrapped around her arms and legs. She struggled, but they tightened. Enemy soldiers entered the chamber. Their armor was dark. Their weapons glowed with power. The guard was shot before he could move. Aelira screamed, but it was too late. They dragged her through burning hallways and into a transport ship. The doors closed behind her with a heavy sound. The ship lifted off. Through a small window, she saw a city, her home, covered in fire. She closed her eyes. Hours passed. The ship was cold and quiet. The only sound was the low hum of engines. Aelira sat alone in a prison cell. The chains on her wrists and ankles drained her strength. Her injuries burned. Her thoughts were heavy. The ancient system was silent. The enemy fleet was unstoppable. Her people were doomed. And somewhere in her mind, a memory returned. A lesson from her childhood. Humans are dangerous, her teacher had said. They pretend to help, but they destroy from inside. Never trust a human. Humans, they were blamed for the First Great War, for the fall of many worlds. Even now, their name was spoken with anger and fear. She hated them. The door of her cell opened. Aelira looked up, ready to shout, ready to fight. But the figure who entered made her freeze. It was not one of the enemy commanders. It was not even an alien. It was a human. He was tall, but thin. His clothes were simple. His face was bruised, and there were chains on his wrists too. A prisoner, just like her. Her eyes filled with rage. "You," she said sharply, "get away from me." The human stopped a few steps inside the cell. He did not smile. He did not look afraid. He looked tired. "My name is Elias," he said calmly. "I was told to speak with you." "I did not ask for you," Aelira replied. "Especially not a human." He nodded slowly, as if he expected that. "I know what you were taught," he said. "I know what you think of my kind." She pulled against the chains. "Your kind destroyed half the galaxy." He shook his head. "That is what you were told." Her eyes narrowed. "Are you saying it is a lie?" "I am saying it is not the full truth," he answered. She laughed bitterly. Typical human, always hiding something. Before he could reply, the ship shook. Alarms echoed through the metal halls. Elias looked up, then back at her. "The enemy fleet is moving into final position," he said. "Your world has less than 48 hours." Her heart tightened, but she did not show it. "You think I would believe anything you say?" she asked. "You are our enemy." "No," he said quietly. "I am not." She stared at him. "My people have suffered because of humans," she continued. "We lost worlds. We lost lives." "So did we," Elias replied. She hesitated. That was not the answer she expected. "The system you tried to activate," he continued. "It did not fail because you were weak." Her breath caught. "Then why?" she demanded. He took a step closer. Because it was never built for aliens alone, he said. It was built with humans. Silence filled the cell. That is impossible, she said. Our ancestors created it. They didn't create it alone, Elias replied. They erased us from the story. Her mind raced. If you are lying, she began. Then nothing changes, he interrupted gently. But if I'm telling the truth, then I might be the only one who can help you. She looked into his eyes, searching for fear, lies, or pride. She found none, only urgency. Outside the cell, another alarm sounded. Time was running out. Aelira clenched her fists. She hated humans. She was raised to hate them. But for the first time in her life, she wondered if that hate had been built on a lie. And that thought frightened her more than the enemy fleet ever could. The prison ship moved silently through space. Outside the small viewing window, stars passed like cold lights. Somewhere far away, Aelira's homeworld were preparing to die. Inside the cell, silence sat heavy between the alien princess and the human. Aelira broke it first. You expect me to believe you, she said coldly, after everything humans have done? Elias did not answer right away. He sat on the metal floor, his back against the wall, chains resting loosely on his wrists. I expect nothing, he said at last. I only tell you the truth. She turned her face away. Truth from a human means nothing. He gave a small, tired smile. That is what we were taught about you too. She looked back at him sharply. What? Elias raised his eyes to meet hers. We were told aliens see humans as tools, as helpers to use, then erase. Her chest tightened. That is not, she stopped herself. Was it not? Centuries ago, humans had vanished from galactic leadership. Their role in ancient projects was removed from records. Over time, they became blamed instead of forgotten. Aelira shook her head. You are twisting history. History was twisted long before you were born, Elias replied. The ship suddenly shook again. A low alarm echoed through the corridor. A mechanical voice announced in the enemy language. Fleet synchronization complete. Planetary assault scheduled. Aelira's heart sank. How long? She asked quietly. Less than 2 days, Elias said. Maybe less. She closed her eyes. My people trusted the system, she whispered. We built our future around it. Elias leaned forward. Because it worked before. She opened her eyes. What do you mean? He took a breath, as if choosing his words carefully. Long ago, he began, your ancestors and mine fought the same enemy. Something worse than this fleet. Something that learned, adapted, and consumed worlds. Aelira listened despite herself. They needed a system that could think, feel, and change, Elias continued. Alien logic was too rigid. Human minds were different. Different how? She asked. Humans survive by adapting, he said. We don't follow one path. We change when things break. She frowned. The system was built to respond to human instincts, Elias said. Faith, hope, choice, sacrifice. He looked at her hands. It doesn't answer to commands, he added. It answers to intent. Aelira remembered the cold silence when she touched the system. You're saying, she hesitated, that it rejected me. No, Elias said softly. It didn't understand you. Anger flared inside her. So my people were never meant to control it, she snapped. You were, he replied, just not alone. She stood as far as her chains allowed. And when the war ended, she asked, what happened to humans? Elias's jaw tightened. We were blamed, he said. It was easier than admitting dependence. She stared at him. You were erased, she said slowly. He nodded. For safety, he added bitterly. Or so they said. Another explosion echoed faintly through the ship's structure. Aelira felt something shift inside her. If he was lying, he was very good at it. But if he was telling the truth, then everything her people believed was wrong. Why tell me this? She asked. Why help us? Elias looked up. Because extinction feels the same in every language, he said. Before she could answer, the cell door opened again. 2 enemy guards entered, weapons raised. Human, one of them barked. You're needed. Aelira's heart jumped. Elias stood slowly. He turned back to her. "I will come back," he said. "You need to think." "Think about what?" she asked. "About trust," he replied, "and about time." They dragged him out of the cell. The door slammed shut. Aelira was alone again. Her mind raced. Could humans really be part of the system's design? Could the truth have been buried for centuries? She remembered her teachers, the warnings, the hatred, but none of them had ever explained why the system felt empty. Hours later, alarms screamed again. The ship shook violently. The cell door opened. Elias stumbled inside, thrown to the floor. His face was bleeding. "What happened?" Aelira asked despite herself. "They tested the system remotely," he said, breathing hard. "They wanted to see if it would react to me." Her eyes widened. "Did it?" He nodded once. "The system woke up," he said, "just for a moment." Her heart pounded. And the enemy noticed," Elias said. "They are accelerating the attack." Aelira pulled against the chains. "Then we have no time," she said. "Release us." Elias shook his head. "I can escape." "You can't." "Not yet." She glared at him. "You expect me to stay here while my world burns." "I expect you to survive," he replied. "How?" she demanded. "By trusting me," he said. She laughed bitterly. "You ask too much." Elias stepped closer. "I will activate the system," he said. "But it needs you." She frowned. "Me?" "Your authority," he explained. "Your genetic mark. The system needs both." She stared at him. "If you betray me," she began. "Then your world dies," he finished. "Same result as doing nothing." The ship shook again. A new warning echoed. Final assault window approaching. Aelira felt fear grip her chest. She looked at the human in front of her. Her enemy. Or maybe her last chance. Slowly, she nodded. "Then do it," she said. "Help me save my people." Elias met her gaze. "Then don't let go," he replied. And for the first time in her life, Aelira chose to trust a human. The prison ship drifted closer to the alien homeworld. From the narrow window, Aelira could see it now, a beautiful blue planet surrounded by burning wreckage. Enemy ships formed a wide circle around it, like hunters closing in on wounded prey. Her home. Elias stood near the control panel he had secretly unlocked. The energy chains on his wrists were gone. Sparks danced around the broken lock. Aelira watched him closely. "You planned this," she said. "I prepared for a chance," Elias replied. "Humans always do." He moved fast, typing code she did not recognize. The ship lights flickered. "What about the guards?" she asked. "Distracted," he said. "The enemy believes I already activated the system." Her eyes widened. "But you didn't." "Not fully," he answered. "I can't." She felt cold fear rise inside her. "Then what did you mean when you said you would help me?" Elias turned to her. "I meant together." The ship shook suddenly. Red warning lights filled the corridor. Unauthorized access detected. "They know," Aelira said. "Yes," Elias replied calmly, "which means we don't have time." He moved to her chains and pressed a small device against them. The metal glowed, then fell apart. Aelira stumbled forward, free at last. She caught herself and looked at her hands in disbelief. "You freed me," she said. "I had to," Elias replied. "The system won't respond without you." Before she could ask more, the ship doors burst open. Enemy soldiers flooded the corridor. "Run!" Elias shouted. They ran together through narrow halls as blast of fire chased them. Aelira felt pain with every step, but she did not stop. They reached an escape pod bay. Elias sealed the door behind them and launched the pod. The prison ship faded behind them as a pod shot toward the planet. Silence filled the small space. Aelira looked at Elias. "You said the system answers to intent," she said. "What does that mean?" Elias sat across from her, breathing hard. "It means the system doesn't care about rank orders," he said. "It listens to purpose." The pod shook as it entered the planet's atmosphere. "Humans don't rule through control," Elias continued. We survived through choice. They landed near the ancient facility hidden deep beneath the capital ruins. Smoke filled the air. The city above was almost gone. They entered the underground chamber. The ancient system stood in the center, glowing faintly as if asleep. Aelira's heart raced. "This place," she whispered. "It feels different now." Elias stepped closer to the system. "It recognizes me," he said, "but it won't fully wake." "Then do it," she urged. "Activate it." Elias placed his hand on the surface. The system lit up instantly. Light spread like veins across the metal walls. A low hum filled the chamber. Aelira stayed in shock. "It responds to you," she said. "Yes," Elias replied, "but it's incomplete." He pulled his hand back. The lights dimmed. "Why?" she asked. Elias looked at her. "Because it was never meant for humans alone either," he said. She froze. "The system was built on balance," he explained. "Human emotion and alien structure. Adaptation and stability." Aelira stepped forward slowly. "You're saying it needs both of us?" "Yes," Elias said. "And more than that." She hesitated. "What more?" "Connection," he answered. "Trust." Her jaw tightened. "I was raised to see you as my enemy," she said. "Every story, every lesson." "I know," Elias replied quietly. "That hate is part of the system's lock." She looked at the system again. Her people were dying above them. She took a deep breath and placed a hand beside his. The system reacted immediately. Light exploded across the chamber. A powerful wave of energy knocked them both back. Aelira cried out as visions filled her mind. She saw the past, humans and aliens standing together, building the system, fighting side by side, trusting each other. Then she saw betrayal, fear, humans erased from history. The system screamed, not in anger, but in pain. Elias collapsed to his knees. Aelira rushed to him. "What's happening?" she asked. "The system is linking to me," he gasped. "Too fast." Energy lines wrapped around his body. Aelira felt panic. "Stop it," she shouted at the system. The lights paused. A voice echoed through the chamber, not a sound, but a feeling. Human neural pattern detected. Compatibility confirmed. Aelira's heart dropped. "What does that mean?" she whispered. Elias looked up at her. "It means I'm the key," he said. "And the cost." The floor shook violently. Outside, the enemy fleet began its final descent. Aelira grabbed his arm. "You can't die," she said firmly. "Not after everything." Elias met her eyes. "Humans were never afraid of sacrifice," he said softly. She shook her head. "I won't allow it." The system spoke again. "Full activation requires permanent human link." Silence followed. Aelira realized the truth. Saving her people meant losing him. And for the first time, the enemy she was raised to hate had become someone she could not lose. She tightened her grip on his arm. "There has to be another way," she said. Elias looked at the glowing system. "There always is," he replied. "But humans find it by risking everything." The system pulsed brighter. The final countdown had begun. The ancient chamber shook as the system pulsed with light. Energy flowed like rivers across the walls. The air felt heavy, alive, watching. Aelira stood beside Elias, her heart racing. Outside the underground facility, the enemy fleet moved closer to her world. Every second mattered. Elias was on his knees now. The glowing lines from the system wrapped around his arms and neck like soft chains of light. His breathing was slow, strained. "Elias," Aelira said urgently, "look at me." He raised his head. Sweat covered his face, but his eyes were clear. "It's starting," he said. "The system is connecting deeper." She clenched her fists. "Stop it." "I can't," he replied calmly, "not without shutting it down." "Then shut it down," she shouted. He shook his head. "If we stop now," he said, "your people die." The system spoke again, its voice echoing inside their minds. Partial activation complete. Planetary defense at 20%. Aelira felt hope and fear collide inside her chest. 20% is not enough, she whispered. No, Elias agreed. It will slow them, not stop them. The ground trembled as explosions echoed far above. Aelira looked at the system, then back at Elias. What does it want? She asked. Elias swallowed. A full human neural link. She froze. That will kill you, she said. Maybe, he replied. Or change me. That's the same thing, she snapped. Elias gave a small smile. Humans don't always see it that way. She grabbed his arm. You are not a weapon, she said firmly. You are not something to be used and thrown away. His smile faded. That's not what this is, he said. This is a choice. The system pulsed again. Full activation required within 12 minutes. Aelira's breath caught. 12 minutes. She had trained her whole life to protect her people. She was raised to believe sacrifice was honor. But no one ever taught her how to choose who should be sacrificed. I won't let you do this alone, she said. Elias looked at her in surprise. You can't. The system won't accept. Then change the rules, she said. You said humans adapt. He stared at her. The system suddenly projected images into the chamber. Cities falling. Children hiding. Her people running from fire. Aelira felt tears burn her eyes. This is my responsibility, she said quietly. I was born for this. And I was trained for this, Elias replied. We both were. She shook her head. You don't understand. My people will survive without me. He stood slowly, despite the energy pulling at him. They won't survive without hope, he said, and neither will you. She turned away, fighting her emotions. All my life, she said, I was told humans destroy everything they touch. She faced him again. But you came back for me, she continued. You didn't have to. Elias looked down. Humans don't leave allies behind, he said. The system interrupted again. Neural synchronization window closing. Decision required. Aelira felt the weight of the galaxy press down on her. She stepped forward and placed her hand on the system again. The light reacted instantly. Elias cried out as the energy surged. Aelira gasped as images flooded her mind. Human memories this time. A dying Earth. Humans rebuilding from ruins. Choosing survival again and again. She saw Elias as a child, hiding during an attack. Training not to rule, but to endure. The system slowed. Dual presence detected. Alien authority confirmed. Elias looked up in shock. What are you doing? He asked. I'm sharing the burden, she said. The system pulsed brighter, but steadier now. Activation stabilized at 40%. Outside, several enemy ships suddenly lost power. They drifted out of formation. Aelira felt a surge of hope. It's working, she said. Yes, Elias replied, but it's still not enough. The system spoke again. Permanent link required to reach full capacity. Aelira's hands trembled. She knew what that meant. Elias stepped closer to her. Listen to me, he said softly. If this ends with me staying here, make it worth it. She looked into his eyes. You are not staying, she said firmly. I won't allow another lie to be written in history. He frowned. Aelira, you told me the truth was erased because it was easy, she said. I won't repeat that mistake. The chamber shook violently as a massive explosion hit the surface above. Dust fell from the ceiling. Final assault initiated, the system warned. Time was almost gone. Aelira made her choice. She stepped fully into the system's light. Gasps of energy wrapped around her body. Elias shouted her name. What are you doing? He cried. She turned back to him, calm but determined. I was raised to hate you, she said. But today, I choose something better. The system reacted violently. Warning, alien integration unstable. Pain shot through her body, but she did not scream. Elias rushed forward. Stop, he shouted. It will kill you. She smiled faintly. Then let it try, she said. My people are worth it. The system pulsed between them, human and alien, locked in a shared fate. Above them, the sky burned. Below them, a new future struggled to be born, and the next choice would decide, not just who survived, But what the galaxy would believe forever, the ancient system screamed, not with sound, but with power. Light exploded through the underground chamber, shooting upward through the ruined city like a pillar reaching space. The ground shook so hard that cracks spread across the walls. Aelira collapsed to her knees. Pain burned through her body, sharp and deep. Her vision blurred, but she forced her eyes to stay open. Elias caught her before she fell. "You're killing yourself," he said urgently. She struggled to breathe. "Still alive." The system's voice echoed again. Dual integration unstable. Human neural pattern dominant. Elias felt the pull return, stronger than before. Energy wrapped around his chest and head. His thoughts blurred as memories that were not his own rushed in. Alien cities, alien songs, alien fear. He cried out and fell beside Aelira. Outside, something changed. Enemy ships began to slow. Some lost power completely, drifting into each other. Others turned away in confusion. For the first time since the invasion began, the enemy fleet hesitated. But the galaxy noticed. Far beyond the battlefield, signals raced across space. Ancient systems awakening. Forbidden energy signatures detected. And one message repeated again and again. Human involvement confirmed. In the Galactic Council chambers, panic spread. Screens showed the alien homeworld surrounded by failing enemy ships. A council member slammed his claws against the floor. "This is impossible," he hissed. The ancient system was sealed. Another voice answered sharply. "It has been breached," a commander said, "by a human." Silence fell. "A human," one counselor whispered. "They were erased for a reason," another growled. "They are unpredictable." "They adapt," a third added. "That makes them dangerous." A decision was made quickly. Declare the human a galactic-level threat. The lead counselor ordered. Terminate the connection at all costs. Back on the planet, the system spoke again. External override detected. Aelira gasped. "They are trying to shut it down." Elias pushed himself up, his body shaking. "They can't," he said. "Not without killing me." She looked at him in fear. "They'll do it anyway," she said. "You don't matter to them." He met her eyes. "That's why I do," he replied. The chamber doors burst open. Alien soldiers rushed inside, her people, but they did not lower their weapons. Their commander stared at Elias. "It's true," he said coldly. "A human is controlling the system." Aelira forced herself to stand. "He is saving us," she said. "Lower your weapons." The commander hesitated. "Our laws forbid human control," he replied. "The council has ordered his arrest." Elias stepped forward slowly. "If you remove me," he said, "the system shuts down." "And if we don't?" the commander asked. "The enemy returns," Elias answered. "Stronger." The soldiers looked uncertain. Aelira turned to them. "This human came back for me," she said loudly. "He chose to risk his life for our world." Some soldiers lowered their weapons. Others did not. Suddenly, the system pulsed violently. Override attempt increasing. A sharp blast of energy threw Elias backward. He slammed into the wall, gasping. "No!" Aelira screamed. She ran to him, holding his head. The commander raised his weapon. "We must end this now," he said. Aelira stood between them. "Then you'll have to shoot me too," she said firmly. The room went silent. The commander's hand trembled. Outside, the enemy fleet began to recover. Without full activation, the system was weakening. Elias coughed and looked up at Aelira. "This won't last," he said weakly. "They'll force the shutdown." She clenched her teeth. "Then we'll leave," she said suddenly. Everyone froze. "What?" the commander asked. Aelira turned to him. "If the system needs a human to survive," she said, "then we protect that human." "You would defy the council?" he demanded. "Yes," she replied without hesitation. The commander stared at her. "You would choose exile," he said, "over obedience." She nodded. "I will not let history erase the truth again." The system reacted. Alien authority reaffirmed. Energy stabilized slightly. Elias grabbed her arm. "If you do this," He said, "You lose your throne." "I was never meant to rule from a chair," she answered. "I was meant to protect." Alarms echoed through the chamber. Enemy ships were regrouping. The commander slowly lowered his weapon. "Prepare an evacuation route," he ordered quietly. "Cover them." Aelira looked at him in surprise. "You're choosing us?" she asked. He bowed his head slightly. "I'm choosing survival," he said. They moved quickly. Elias leaned heavily on Aelira as they ran through the tunnels. Behind them, the system glowed, unstable, incomplete, but alive. Above them, the galaxy had made its choice. A human was now marked as a threat. A princess was marked as a traitor. And together, they became something far more dangerous to the old order than any weapon. The truth, the system pulsed one last time. Guardian selection pending. The next decision would not just save a world. It would decide who controlled the future of the galaxy. The evacuation ship broke free from the planet's atmosphere just as enemy weapons struck the upper shield. Space opened around them. Dark, silent, endless. Aelira watched her homeworld fade behind the ship. Fire still burned across its surface, but the enemy fleet was scattered now, confused, slowed by the ancient system's unstable power. Elias sat across from her, pale and weak. The glowing marks from the system still faintly moved under his skin, like light trapped in veins. "You shouldn't be alive," one of the alien officers whispered. Staring at him, Elias gave a tired smile. "Humans are bad at quitting." The ship jumped to hyperspace. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then the system activated again. Not from the planet, from Elias. The lights inside the ship dimmed. The air vibrated. A voice filled the cabin, not loud, but impossible to ignore. "Guardian candidate detected." Everyone froze. Aelira turned sharply toward Elias. "What does that mean?" she asked. Elias frowned. "I don't know." The voice continued. "Human neural pattern stable. Adaptive response confirmed." The alien officers stepped back in fear. "The system is moving," one said. "It's following him." Aelira felt a chill. "They'll never stop hunting you," she said quietly. Elias met her eyes. "They already did," he replied. "Long ago." The ship dropped out of hyperspace near neutral zone, empty space filled with ancient debris. The system spoke again. "Demonstration required." Before anyone could react, energy surged from Elias. Not violently. Smooth. Controlled. A holographic image formed in the air. Records, memories, data streams. Scenes of the past filled the ship. Humans and aliens building the ancient system together. Fighting side by side against an old extinction-level threat. Then betrayal. Fear-driven decisions. Humans erased from history. The officers stayed in shock. "This was hidden," one whispered. Aelira felt her chest tighten. "The truth," she said. The system shifted again. Humanity's primary function identified. Elias felt a strange calm. "What function?" he asked. The system answered. "Connection." Images changed. Human rescue team saving alien civilians. Human engineers repairing alien cities. Humans choosing sacrifice over control. "They don't dominate," the system explained. "They adapt. They protect. They endure." The officers were silent. Aelira looked at Elias with new understanding. "This is why you scare them," she said. "You can't be controlled." The system pulsed brighter. Threat assessment updated. Human species reclassified. A warning signal suddenly flashed across the ship screens. "Galactic Council fleet incoming." "They found us," an officer said. Aelira stepped forward. "Let them come," she said firmly. The Council fleet emerged from hyperspace, weapons locked. A transmission opened. "You are harboring galactic-level threat," a Council commander declared. "Surrender the human." Aelira raised her head. "No," she replied. "You will listen." Elias placed a hand on the console. The system responded instantly. Every screen in the Council ships lit up. The truth streamed across the fleet, past wars, erased records, human sacrifices. Silence followed. "You lied," the commander whispered. "We were afraid," another voice admitted. "Afraid of what we could not control." Elias spoke calmly. Humans were never your enemy, he said. Fear was. The system added one final statement. Guardian selection complete. A symbol appeared. Not a crown, not a throne. A shield. Human designated. Temporary guardian. The council commander swallowed. What does that mean? He asked. It means, Elias replied, I protect the system. And if we try to stop you, the commander asked. Elias looked at Aelira. She nodded once. He turned back. Then the system adapts, he said. The council ships powered down. One by one. Weapons offline. The galaxy had witnessed something impossible. A human not conquering, but defending. Aelira stepped beside Elias. You saved us, she said softly. He shook his head. We saved each other, he replied. The system pulsed gently. Future stability increased. Far away, the enemy fleet began to retreat. The war was not over, but the lie was, and humanity's real weapon had finally been revealed. Not strength, not weapons, but the courage to stand between fear and the future. The stars were quiet. For the first time since the war began, no alarms echoed through space. No weapons charged. No fleets moved into attack formation. The enemy ships were gone. They had not been destroyed. They had retreated. Aelira stood at the viewing window of the command ship, watching the empty space where the battle once raged. Her homeworld floated below, damaged, burning in places, but alive, saved. Behind her, Elias sat alone, connected only by faint lines of light that slowly faded from his skin. The ancient system was no longer forcing itself through him. It was calm, resting. The system spoke one last time, not loudly, not with command, but with clarity. Threat neutralized. Planetary survival probability, stable. Aelira closed her eyes. Her people would live. When she turned, she saw alien leaders entering the chamber. Generals, council members, survivors of the old order. They looked at Elias with uncertainty. Fear, respect. One stepped forward slowly. You could rule, the council leader said. The system would follow you. The galaxy would obey. Elias looked up, surprised. Aelira's breath caught. For centuries, power had been everything to the galaxy. Elias stood. He shook his head. No, he said simply. The council leader frowned. You saved a world. You could shape the future. Elias met his eyes. That's why I won't, he replied. Silence spread across the chamber. Humans don't survive by ruling others, Elias continued. We survive by helping them stand on their own. The system reacted. Guardian role complete. Light faded completely. The link was gone. Aelira rushed to him. Are you? I'm human again, he said with a small smile. That's enough. The council leader stared. You're walking away, he asked. Yes, Elias replied. Aelira felt something tighten in her chest. She stepped forward. My people owe you everything, she said. Stay. Let us rebuild together. Elias looked at her, really looked. I will help, he said gently, but not as a symbol, not as a weapon. She nodded. That's how humans help, she said. News spread fast across the galaxy. The truth could no longer be erased. Records were restored. Histories rewritten. Lies exposed. Humans were not destroyers. They were survivors. They were protectors. They were the ones who stood in the fire so others didn't have to. Days later, Aelira stood before her people. The city was broken, but alive with movement. Reconstruction had begun. She raised her voice. We were taught to hate, she said. We were taught fear instead of truth. She turned and gestured toward Elias. This human was supposed to be our enemy, she continued, but he became our shield. Her people bowed, not to Elias, but to the truth. Later, at the edge of the rebuilt spaceport, Elias prepared to leave. Aelira walked beside him. You changed the galaxy, she said quietly. He shook his head. The galaxy changed itself. I just reminded it. She stopped. What will you do now? She asked. Go where humans always go, he replied. Where we're needed. She hesitated. then spoke. "You were raised to be erased," she said, "yet you saved us." "And you were raised to hate me," he replied softly, "yet you trusted me." They stood in silence. Then Aelira said, "The system called you guardian." Elias smiled. "No," he said, "I was just a key." The ship doors closed. As Elias's ship lifted into space, Aelira watched until it became a single light among the stars. The galaxy would tell stories about him. Some would call him a weapon. Some would call him a myth. But the truth was simpler. He was the enemy she was raised to hate, and the savior her people would never forget. Far across the stars, the ancient system recorded its final note. Humanity, not a threat. Humanity, a safeguard. And for the first time in a long time, the galaxy slept without fear.